So happy October. It's Filipino American History Month. So for this month, me and my sister are doing a special video in collaboration. We're gonna make our own versions of Sinigang because we make different versions. And during that entire moment of like process, we're gonna be answering questions based on being Filipino American. And so let's get started with that. So the ingredients that I will be using for my version of it is some form of meat. For today, I'm using beef. Um, Another ingredient would be onions or sibuyas. I have 3 tomatoes here, kamatis. I have an eggplant. I forgot what they're called. Pepper, banana peppers, or sile. There's no kangkong here, so what I had to do was just get a bag of spinach. I don't think it's gonna taste very well, but I kind of want green stuff in my sinigang, so that's what we're gonna do. So let's get started. We're gonna chop up the onions and the tomatoes. So we're gonna chop up the tomatoes. I'm gonna pretty much cut it into fours and then cut each part of that into half or maybe 3. So each tomato will give me about 12 parts because that's math for you. One of the main things that is sort of disappointing about being Filipino American right now is the fact that the 2 countries that I associate myself with, which is the United States and the Philippines, is kind of going through some mess. There is a mess with coronavirus in both countries. There's a lot of political issues going on with both countries. I tend to just not pay attention now because it just stresses me out. So as a Filipino American, I think that's just something that's gonna weigh in our heads for a lot of our days. Another thing is with being Filipino American is that being in the Americas means that you're not gonna get you're not gonna get good ingredients. So like I want to make good, authentic, whatever that word means, Filipino food, but you can't really do it when you don't live in the Philippines because you don't have kangkong. So what's gonna happen is I make substitutes. That's the thing that I learned with being Filipino American. I make substitutes for things that I want. I make do with what is here and I suck it up. So here are my kamatis. There's a lot because there's 3 of them, and I'm gonna make this very sour. Okay, so I moved to the United States at the ripe old age of 9 years old. So at 9 years old, September 27, 2007, I boarded a plane that I didn't really know I was never gonna go back to. I haven't gone back ever since. I kind of wanted to this winter break, but coronavirus is a thing, so I cannot do that. I moved here. The first thing that I noticed is that it was really cold. I finished my onions, so I'm gonna save that. After coming here to the United States, it wasn't that much different getting used to school because my dad paid a lot of money to get us into private schools in the Philippines where we were able to learn English, we were able to do this and that. The Philippine school system pretty much mimics the United States one. So to me, I wasn't like going into such a different realm for education. It was very familiar to me. But what was kind of difficult as a Filipino American immigrant was that even though you knew English, you still felt like you couldn't really speak because then it feels like you're faking it. It feels like you don't really know English. So for a good like year after being here, I never noticed that I wasn't actually supposed to be in English secondary learning, like the thing where they take you like for a period while all the other kids get to like have fun and like learn about art. I got dragged and like put into a room where I'm supposed to learn English, like how to actually speak English. But I knew how to speak English, I just didn't want to. I was a very shy kid. Because, moving to a new country where you really don't know anybody and like everybody doesn't look like you, is very like haunting as a like 9-year-old. But like after a while you kind of get used to it. That's why like for me at least, like the way I started connecting with people is I played Pokemon. So video games was like the one thing that I used to like connect with other kids and stuff like that. So that was very fun for me. And like living alone in the United States now has probably like taught me more about being a Filipino American immigrant than living and like living with other Filipinos. Because when you're living with other Filipinos, I think you get used to the fact that you're still seeing Filipinos. But then when you go to college and when you go to grad school, like I am, you tend to like lose that. Like especially me, I moved to Nebraska. I haven't really seen another Filipino here. So I finished chopping up my stuff. So the way that I do this is I have two separate pots. I have the pot where I'm gonna put the actual sinigang in, and then I have a frying pan for when I'm gonna saute the onions and the tomatoes. So first step is actually we're gonna fill up the pot. We're gonna put our meats in here. So we're gonna put 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're gonna fill it up with water, just enough to drown it, just enough for everything to be below water. And then we're gonna boil it. And yeah, so that's one part. The other part is we're gonna saute some our onions and tomatoes until they loosen up, until they get very soft, and then we're gonna dump it in the sinigang. I don't know. Like honestly, I don't think I quite know what it means to be Filipino American. I think to me, I sort of have a definition of what it is for me, but I don't think it's like the general like consensus. Because like as Filipinos, I think we can all agree that all Filipinos are drastically different from each other. We have some commonalities here and there, but we can't even agree on one recipe for a food. Like I'm gonna make my own recipe. My sister's making her own recipe. Like somebody else out there has like a different recipe. Like we can't even agree on like one recipe, and that's not like a bad thing. I think that's a good thing that we're so like diverse as like culture. But I think it makes it kind of difficult to hone in on like what being Filipino American means, because it's just like there's so many different types of Filipinos out there. All right, so I'm gonna put a bit of oil in here and wait for that to warm up. After that, I'm gonna saute our tomatoes and onions until they get soft. I don't really know what it means to be Filipino American. To me, I don't really want to attach myself to being an American, first of all. Just considering how much history there is behind that word and how much colonization has completely plagued the entire, not just the country, but the entire globe at this point, that I'm kind of hesitant to identify as Filipino American. I would rather just identify as Filipino. So yeah, even though I have been here for more than a decade at a time, I haven't gone back to the Philippines. I still feel like I don't want to identify as Filipino American. But like a Filipino in the Philippines is gonna look at me and say, "Yeah, you're Filipino American because you've been in the Americas for quite some time. You don't really speak Tagalog that much often anymore." So yeah, it's just like one of those things where it's like a title that I don't really want, but it's going to be thrust upon me whether I like it or not. So that's kind of sad, but like, oh well. So a funny story that happened in undergrad was when I was trying to buy a barong for like my grad photos, and it was funny because I had to call the number first to see if they were even like accepting customers. I bought mine like pre-COVID. I'm pretty sure I bought mine during summer before my senior year, and it was like I had to call them just to make sure that they were like open and stuff. So I called them and like I hit them with the English, like, "Are you open?" and blah blah blah. And then like I hear like the woman's voice, and like suddenly like as soon as she started speaking, like my mind flipped. And like as soon as she finished talking, I replied in Tagalog. And I was just like, I haven't really done that. Because the thing is, like, if somebody talks to me in Tagalog, I'll speak back in Tagalog, obviously. But like, it's just weird that it's just like, it's out of my control. Like, it just comes out. And I'm just like, oh God. Which is funny because like, I sound very Americanized when I speak Tagalog. But then when I speak English, sometimes when I start speaking a lot, like the Filipino accent comes out. It's just something funny. And something that I do miss. I haven't spoken Tagalog out loud in a very long time. Alright, so once your tomatoes and onions are softened and sauteed a bit, you're gonna dump it into the boiling water with the beef and just mix up the flavors. Alright, so once you mix the tomatoes and the sibuyas in there, just let it sit for a while, let it reboil, let it like get up to heat again. And then what we're gonna do is add the tamarind thing, and then we're gonna let it boil, and then we're gonna let it simmer. So I already mentioned this, but my least favorite thing about being Filipino in the Americas is that I just don't have the good food and the good ingredients that I would have if I lived in the Philippines. I miss longanisa. I haven't had longanisa in a while. I miss tocino. I haven't had tocino in a long while too. Kangkong is like rare to find unless you literally live in like the Filipino community of your city in like a major state like California or like somewhere on the East Coast. You're probably not gonna get kangkong. So you're gonna have to make do with what you have, and that's kind of sad. And it's my least favorite thing, honestly, because I miss the food. I miss the food very much. All right, so it reboiled, and so now what we want is to drop a bit of this, not a lot, because I put a lot of tomatoes in it, so it's already sour. I'm just gonna add just a tiny bit because I want that tamarind flavor in there. And now we're gonna cover it up and then lower the heat because we're gonna simmer it for about 40 minutes. And then at the 40-minute mark, we're gonna add our eggplants, our spinach, our sile, and yeah, and then we're gonna let it cook for about 20 more minutes after that, or until like it's where it's tender and like where I want to eat it. So yeah. So I guess my favorite thing about being Filipino in the Americas is meeting other Filipinos that aren't family, because it's like it's a rare occasion. I'm gonna say a rare occasion, even though living in like Los Angeles, you'll probably see a Filipino like once every like 5 minutes. But it's just rare to find them. So like when we lived in Michigan and we found Filipinos there, it was kind of like a cool moment of just like, whoa, like we exist here too, kind of thing, you know? And like, it's just my favorite thing because then people start talking like, oh, where are you from? Like, and yeah, so you just get to talk about like the Philippines, and it's just like one of those rare moments where you don't really get to do that with like non-Filipinos, at least like the ones that haven't traveled a lot. So I think that's my favorite thing about being Filipino in the Americas is just meeting other Filipinos and figuring out like, oh, there's like actual Filipinos like in different places, not just in California and like New York. Alright, so I finished the dish. This is what I have. I don't know if it's gonna focus. It is. So that's what I have. I have eggplants and a lot of vegetables in here. Way more than I usually eat. But I guess we're pretty much ready to eat. Let's dig in. Let's see. It's pretty good. So I guess one of the main reasons why I think me and my sister chose sinigang is just because it's so versatile. You can literally make this with any type of meat. I just chose beef because it was the most accessible to me. And yeah, you can do this with shrimp, you can do this with fish, you can do this with any type of meat that you can possibly think of. And yeah, and it's pretty good. I feel like sinigang is sort of a better flavor because there's just so much to do, and I think it's more representative of the Filipino culture because there's a lot going on here. And yeah, that's my sinigang. And so happy October and happy Filipino American History Month. So make sure to check out my sister's sinigang version. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time.